And they're off. So it looks like Knox, Vitasia, and epicYoshi are all electing to do a similar route here, with Scooty going for the sign towards Uncle.
Looks like he just wants to try and get a quick look at Escape, see if there's anything in here. Could pay off.
Always a pretty solid play. Meanwhile, Vitasia going for the Houlihan room to pick up a bunch of rupees to start off the game. And we can see bombs on Nox's screen as well as epicYoshi's.
Good find for getting early loot off in CAC. Vitasia electing for a treasure room, just amplify all the money she can get.
And some early health at the mushroom spot. Always a nice thing to get right at the beginning of the seed.
Can't get much done if you're falling over.
Ooh, and a fire rod.
That opens up a little bit, but not an amazing amount on its own. We're going to need to see a few extra keys out before he can go too much with it. Aghanim revealed to own a heart container for our participants if they so desire.
And a big 20 at the race game. Meanwhile, in the hut, we get a Desert Palace Big Key, Compass of Ice. And let's see what this last item here is. The book. So that's early desert access with potential to clear it.
Only thing stopping him at this point is finding the ever-present, gonna need to find the gloves. And the shovel, so that's a nice item spot. And it's relatively close by as well. Meyer compass.
And a big key to Hera in the CAC well. Looks like nobody's going to go opt to get that shield once they find their boots in the library.
It's a fair bit out of the way once you've already cleared out everything around here, and now that they have the shovel, like, there's not a great deal of reason to come back to Light World Kakariko outside of awakening the duck.
All right, and it looks like Knox is going to dig his way up to the shovel spot. And with that, we have a small key to Castle Tower. Always an interesting one to find early on.
It's worth remembering, those two boxes, who knows?
Man, Knox is really taking that shovel right now.
He has found his calling. He plans to dig deep and dig greedy, I suppose.
Compass both inside and outside of the dam, so nothing too useful from here.
Little unfortunate. So far, not a great deal really pulling them in any given direction. It's just, well, it's time to loot the overworld.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Meanwhile, we've got Vitasia giving us a Sahasrahla check. We'll get to see what the green pendant is, hopefully. It is going to be in pod.
And lurking in his little stash, Sandstorm was hiding.
Wow, so once they find those gloves, they'll be able to full clear desert as long as they go to Sahasrahla's hut. So you got a sword for Vitasia as well as the small key to desert.
And over in Moldworm Cave, where everybody else went, small key for Swamp. The magic powder. And most of a heart container. Vitasia wasting no time, just immediately diving into Eastern.
And with that, we have found our first map of Skull Woods.
Seems like the shovel craze is catching on. Ice Rod spot proving to be a bit of a bust. Another compass. Certainly a strategy. If you run out of all the junk chests early, like, you can only find good things, right?
Well, that's the hope, especially in this mode.
So at this point, we've got two folks with at least a weapon, one more digging for his life, and one now in Hyrule Castle, just wandering around.
Curious to see when they actually who the first person to go into Hyrule Castle is. It looks like it's going to be Knox, unless he's just going for the tree pole here. Nope, looks like he's headed in.
To note, he's the only one without a sword at this point, so
He does, however, have the fire rod and 4 bombs. It's a little precarious, but I think he can manage that.
not a great deal of magic power either.
So it looks like the only progression points that we haven't seen so far are Hyrule Castle, or Escape, which Nox is currently checking, as well as Desert, which we can see pretty much all of outside of fighting Lambos.
Yep, they can get in and fully clear all of the first half of Desert, not to mention, check up on Zahastla's brother.
Looks like Nox is opting to save that last fire rod shot, and he picks up a small key to Turtle Rock.
And that Vitasia's made the judgment call and is heading for Desert.
I like this play. Looks like we got a Master Sword on Desert Ledge, but I like this play. You've got the big key, you've got the small key. If anything, you're just going to end up go-moding Desert afterwards, once you've cleared it out now.
You get most of it right now, unless like something major is sitting on boot spot.
True enough. Meanwhile, Nox picked up his first Ganon Tower small key, in the Zelda chest.
I also just realized that Scooty decided to dark room his way through the first half of Eastern.
And there's our gloves, so Desert can be completed right now.
Progression very much pointed in a direction, and it seems like everybody's finally picked up on it, with everybody except Epic already now on their way. And Epic will be there soon enough, given that he's got one more box to check.
Ooh, and a blue potion. That'll come in super handy. Especially if they're... I think I figured out why Nox has been digging so much, is to try to find some magic. With that blue potion, you'll be able to get a free magic refill as well as a health refill.
I hadn't actually considered that. That's actually a really good point. Extra heart container in the side cave as everybody else starts to make their way into desert.
So it looks like everyone's going to pick up their Master Sword from Desert as well, except for Knox, who will be getting his first sword.
And with the power of lifty things, they have a bit more that they can check now that once they're done with this. With any luck, this isn't wisdom or power.
You know, it's kind of funny with Keysanity. I don't really mind finding pendant dungeons just because it helps to fill out the map a little more.
Yeah, if you don't already have the maps to really make the judgment call, it's nice to find one because then you can sort of start to isolate where everything else is. Unfortunately, poor compasses still kind of makes for a good checklist if you haven't already like memorized the number, but
True. And that blue potion's actually going to come in handy now because the only person who has enough magic to be able to hit all of the torches is ScootyPuff right now. Unless they choose to pick up a little extra magic in the I can't remember which room it's called, but there's a little bit of magic in that room before the second pot key room, I think, or the third one.
oh, the longer tunnel room with all the BMOs, yeah.
That one, yeah.
All magic expended, and Vita's got only one Landmo left, so this should be pretty good. Knox's sword, and it's a crystal.
And it looks like Knox decided to leave. Interesting decision.
Because he didn't get the desert, he didn't get the small key, so he can't get to where the gloves are.
Ah, that's right, because he hasn't gone to Sahasrahla yet. That's why he doesn't have his Master Sword right now.
And he's heading there right now. Order slightly backwards, but
Well, we'll see if he gives us any rage slashes or anything.
the real hope is that he immediately goes back. No reaction yet. As Scooty starts moving in on Landmo himself.
And we've got Mitts in the back of Escape. There's our progression. Well, at least until we find the pearl.
This opens up just about all of Light World. We're missing more or less the flippers and a couple of smaller things now.
Looks like Scooty has finished up their Desert Palace fight and will be getting their crystal.
And epicYoshi is beginning their rampage through. Vita now clearing the front of Hyrule Castle, while Knox is now back in Eastern for the first time for him.
It'll be interesting to see if Vita decides to check out Castle Tower as well while they're here.
They do have the Aghanim key. They have that first key. They can check quite a bit. And since we know that Aghanim himself is only really locking down a heart container, there's not a lot of reason to go further to kill him. Knox now also electing to attempt the Dark Rooms. As a reminder, no lamp means this is going to stay dark no matter what other things you have.
Meanwhile, epicYoshi picking up their mitts.
Since Yoshi's already been to Hyrule Castle, I'm curious to see where they might decide to go now that they've found all of this.
Looks like they're gonna go and make a play for Sick Kid right now.
It's as good as plan as any. You got the bottle, may as well use it.
And it's bombs.
Wonder what's going through their heads at this point. They've all seemed to be retreating. They've all gone through each other's choices of areas up to this point, and really only Epic's seen a new spot with getting a hold of the Sick Kid and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm not too sure yet. It looks like Epic and Knox are both heading into Castle Tower to check out at least the first chest, maybe the second chest as well.
They've got the key, they can.
All depends if they know where those torch spots are, because they do have fire rods, so they have access to be able to see in that room. And there's our Moon Pearl, so we have Dark World access.
And with the current tool set, a decent chunk is coverable. Scooty now also on his way in there. And Vitasia's not far behind.
Meanwhile, Knox is working on getting through that dark room to the second chest.
Whereas Epic has already decided it's time to leave. And is headed straight for Thieves Town.
Meanwhile, Scooty's going to go the other way and head to Skull Woods, which the runners can clear right now. They do have the Fire Rod. Ooh, and Knox found his hook shot in that dark room, so that's big.
Oof, Aghanim found all the important stuff.
And we've got a tempered sword and skull. As well as my favorite map of the game, the Hyrule Castle map.
The map of nothing.
It's just a little bit better than the Ganon's Tower one.
I don't know, dude. Size of that gauntlet. I think I'd rather have that map. Epic has found the frog.
It looks like he's getting our first pod small key from Stump Kid, or Stumpy.
Vitasia also diving into Skullwoods. Nothing amazing waiting for them in there, it seems, but
Not quite, and it looks like Scooty's gonna opt not to try to complete Skullwoods right now. It is pretty tough with 7 hearts and green mail for sure.
all those spikes have a habit of being a little obnoxious if you're not careful. Knox on his way to grab the first pair of gloves.
I believe that was the second one for him.
Yep, that was Titan Mitts.
And it looks like Vitasia is going to go and finish up Skull Woods right now. Meanwhile, we've got ScootyPuff and epicYoshi entering Thieves Town at about the same time.
And the big key of Swamp waiting for them, for their troubles.
Ooh, and we've got a flute in Thieves Town.
And now that the duck is accessible, Misery Mire you can at least get the stuff that's off to the side of it. More importantly, you can learn what medallion's in there.
And Yoshi's going to opt to clear out Thieves Town, but leaving that Thieves Town big key or big chest. That's a tough one sometimes.
Scooty, on the other hand, has decided he's just doesn't seem to want to stay. Seems like he's heading off for shoveling game.
And we're going to get another bottle from that filled with some green goo.
That was a quick number of digs, too. Vitasia beginning the Mothula fight.
And nicely done by Vitasia there, finishing up Mothula. And we've got ourselves another crystal. And the big key to Mire in Hype Cave, the bow. That's a pretty good Hype Cave.
Can never neglect these 5 spots. These 5 box locations. Sometimes they just make or break you on a seed.
And Yoshi finds his lantern in the Maiden's Cell.
So that presents an interesting point of logic in that they wanted you to, like, the game's logic wouldn't want you to go running around in the dark rooms of, say, Eastern Palace without having the lamp, which would indicate that it wanted you to come here first.
Meanwhile, Scooty is awakening the duck.
And also bringing the dwarf home. We get our trademark blind pun for the run.
And Scooty picks up their big key to Thieves Town. Maybe we'll see them dip into there.
Scooty instead making the decision to attempt Dark Room. I'm not actually sure where he is. Oh no, this is Old Man Cave.
And the old man gives you a big 20.
Payment for services rendered.
You know, I'd probably pay about 100 to get through a dark room. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, for something like pods, dark rooms, absolutely.
All right, and we've got a small key in Spec Rock. Get a look at that very shortly.
Small key in, little of above.
And it's a small key to Skull.
Well, at least he doesn't have to kill the Gibdo.
Always a nice luxury there. Now, Knox is in an interesting position because they do have their hook shot. So they could go over to East Death Mountain right now.
Knox and Scooty are both there. Scooty's just going to flute out.
Scooty does not have the hook shot. Remember, the hook shot was in the dark room in Castle Tower.
Thankfully, with Scooty now making his way into Thieves Town, he should be able to expedite his process for getting a hold of his hook shot.
It's all a matter of when they decide to head back into Castle Tower, though. Knowing that they found the Moon Pearl in there, it's going to be interesting to see how many of them think that it'll have something else useful.
There's only 2 boxes in there, and I've already got one good thing out of here, so... Knox electing to definitely loot Paradox Cave.
And in it, we have a Turtle Rock small key and a bomb upgrade.
And in the upper half, where another 5 boxes await,
Just a small key to Ice Palace. But that's a very nice small key to have.
a little extra health isn't too bad either. So far, it's been a little stingy with the mail upgrades, and they're fighting some fairly tough bosses here.
And if you're just joining us right now, hello and welcome to round 1 of the Swiss stage of the Link to the Past Keysanity Tournament. I am Hahasel, and with me today is...
CRS Reverb, we are covering double match here with Knox versus ScootyPuff and Vitasia versus epicYoshi. It's an interesting predicament to be stuck in right now, where Knox has the loot to make a lot more progress comparatively to go and find all these extra items, but he still hasn't gone back and finished the 2 dungeons that they can finish right now.
It's definitely very interesting. The thing we do know, though, is that what Nox is doing right now is technically not a sequence break because we found the lamp.
And more importantly, they found the flute.
Ooh, and we got flippers in Super Bunny Cave.
And with that, the majority of Overworld movement is open. Scooty, undeterred by Blind, and is absolutely going to beat him. Yoshi beginning fetch quest, bringing the purple chest down towards the dam.
Meanwhile, now we know Turtle Rock is, in fact, ether locked as Nox picks up his mirror in Hookshot Cave. And his butter.
All 4 swords already.
And the big key of Pod, which we do know is the green pendant. Oh, this is an interesting play too. Because they have Dark World access and the mirror now, they actually can go to Hera and beat Moldorm.
It's true, he can just waltz right in there. He's got the big key. And more importantly, since they're literate as well, you can just walk over and pick up Ether. Well, the Ether tablet.
And with that, we're finding the big key of Skull Woods. It'll be interesting to see if there's an important item locked behind that big chest.
Knox seems to have found his way through most of the sequence of what the game wants, having managed to get through without needing the lamp in that early segment.
Really, for all of our runners, it's just a matter of time before they go back into Castle Tower to pick up their hook shot. So this actually puts Nox in a pretty favorable position. And we have found our boots in the Hera Big Chest.
And Yoshi beginning the first wanderings going into Mire area.
And with Buttersword, this Moldorm fight is pretty simple.
Poor Moldorm. Ether locked on both counts. This will be interesting.
Meanwhile, we find the map for Mire in Mire's shed, but we're not going to get a check of it just yet.
Oh no. Yoshi's stuck in the rock. Seems like Scooty may have realized he missed something. He's making his way back into Hyrule Castle.
Well, he's got the right idea going into a dark room. Just not quite this one yet. Although this could hold something as well. I don't think we've seen it yet.
No, nobody's gone wandering into the sewers yet.
And Scooty taking the Death Warp. But it looks like they're headed straight for Castle Tower now, and they will find their hookshot and be very, very happy.
Vitasia stopping off to pick up a couple of extra potions. Can't be too safe, particularly when you consider blind is still on the menu for most of our heroes. Yoshi looking to put his bow to use, heading into Eastern. Scooty finally getting his hookshot. And immediately heading for right side of Death Mountain.
Meanwhile, Knox finishes up the Skullwoods fight with Mahula, while Vitasia is on their blind fight.
Blind has been determined to not job out this particular run. I believe this is Vitasia's third or fourth attempt against him. I believe all four of our heroes have attempted to face him at some point or another.
And it looks like Vitasia takes down Blind. Knox is going to check the ped for us for the Lonely Arrow.
Knox going ahead and pulling open the Skullwoods big chest to reveal yet more money.
So we're about 55 minutes in, and both of these matchups look pretty neck and neck at the moment. Meanwhile, Knox picks up the map of Eastern Palace. See if we can get a quick check here. Eastern Palace is a crystal. I want to get a quick Bombos check here. It is another map to Pod, which we already know is the Green Pendant.
Sorry, Master Exploder. The tablet isn't too much in your favor this time.
Meanwhile, we've got Vitasia going to pick up their hook shot, as well as epicYoshi picking up all of their goodies on East Death Mountain.
And ScootyPuff goes ahead and catches himself back up, taking down Hera.
And we're getting our first look into Lumberjack Cave. Let's see what we've got in here. Another big 20.
ScootyPuff going for a spot that we haven't actually seen yet. They're going to check our good friend under the bridge.
Meanwhile, we see Yoshi powdering a dead rock that was giving him a bit of trouble over there.
Those rocks are rude, and in a tight corridor, it's just messy. Knox finally doubling back to clean up a lot of the dungeons that he started on and never really finished. And Scooty heading up the waterfall.
Didn't quite see what was on Zora Ledge. Might not have been too important though.
Maybe he just didn't stop to check.
And we've got a Turtle Rock map now. Only cost us 500 whole rupees.
Cartography is expensive. There's a lot of work that goes into that.
King's Tomb with another pod small key. We haven't seen too many of those yet, but we have found the big key.
Yoshi picking up his flippers. And Vitasia right behind him.
Meanwhile, I think we're getting our first Bat Cave check.
I think we saw the heart container earlier when someone was checking Turtle Rock, but
Oh, it was... I believe it's the other small key, the pod right there. Maybe that's the third one. Nope, that's the third one.
so that's 3 out of how many? 6? There's a
Yep.
lot of locked doors in Pod.
Ooh, it looks like Vitasia opted not to go and do Tower of Hera.
Seems like they've been putting it off. Maybe looking for the small key for the basement?
Now, with the current items that we have, dungeons that we can access currently are Pod, swamp, and ice palace, it looks like. However, without a hammer, we have no way to complete any of them.
And it shows in their actions as they continue to all meander about the overworld, trying to find that one small box that's probably got it.
Looks like Vitasia is going to give us our first swamp check, though.
Bumper Cave's got a key on top of it.
And the cape is in the first chest in swamp.
Wonder if it'd be that straightforward.
Meanwhile, we've got mushroom on graveyard ledge. I think Vitasia just remembered that they need the hammer in order to progress further into swamp.
Yep. The laughing peg's just kind of taunting.
Meanwhile, we've got Knox and Scooty both opting to do mushroom check into catfish, it looks like. And catfish has the blue rang.
And in Nox's case, he can stop over and pick up everything else up here on the waterfall as well, since he didn't come to the Light World version of this yet, I don't think.
I believe he did earlier. I think he fluted up to Witch's Hut to get there.
And he doubled back, picked up his heart container.
I like what ScootyPuff just did there, deciding to go get catfish and then staying in Dark World so that he could do his mushroom check, but then also go to Pyramid and potentially Pod.
It's true, I don't think we've actually seen the side of Pyramid yet. Sometimes the simplest answer really is the solution.
Wow, that dead rock trolling right in front of the Hera entrance for Vitasia. And on the pyramid is our boy Brian.
You were dead on. Scooty's heading straight into pod.
And with 3 small keys, this is a really good play.
There's a lot of ground to cover and a lot of boxes to grab.
Especially with bow in hand. However, without the hammer, they will require at least 5 small keys, I believe.
More importantly, the tiny turtles will prove to be something of a nightmarish obstacle.
Ooh, and the ice rod is in pod.
Given that we still don't know about T-Rock.
And we've got a red cane just hanging out in pod as well. With the Meyer big key, all Scooty's missing is Ether to finish up Meyer.
And at this point, that even opens up Turtle Rock for him as well.
And finally, a mail upgrade as well in pod.
I was just full of everything in this seed.
And we have our hammer in pod.
Not quite vanilla location, but it's never a decision that anybody wants to make. It's a risk, and it's one that paid off quite handsomely.
So with that hammer, we can now clear Swamp Palace and Ice Palace and get into Turtle Rock once we find Ether.
And Bumper Cave hiding an extra Turtle Rock key. And Scooty is already out of there and running towards Swamp, it looks like. Oh, and T-Rock is confirmed to just be the T-Rock Crystal.
All right, so with that, I believe we can fill out our map. That means that Ice Palace and Swamp Palace both are pendants at this point, I believe.
Yes, actually.
Oh, it looks like we also have the 5-6 crystals right now. Turns out Skull Woods was the other one. And there's our Thieves Town small key in the big chest in Swamp. Ooh, and unfortunately for epicYoshi, because they don't have that third pod key, they won't be able to get their hammer yet. Oh, never mind. Looks like they did get it. My mistake.
Yeah, the chest that they had skipped was the vanilla big key chest, where you bomb yourself through the crack in the ground.
Ah.
So that should mean that they did pick up Ice Rod, they did pick up...
And Knox now just getting that big key to Thieves Town, which means he's probably just going to go and complete it now. Meanwhile, we find the second castle tower key from Argus.
There's not a great deal of... Of course, with that said, now that we know what's in Lumberjack Cave, and we've already gotten both the other boxes, unfortunately, it seems like Aghanim 1 is not going to be getting destroyed.
And we're getting our first look at Ice Palace from Vitasia right now. Meanwhile, looks like Scooty is finishing up left side of Swamp, which can be a bear to do, but it's a good spot to check in Keysanity.
It's a spot that always seems like it'd be so out of the way that you don't want to check it. Which almost seems like it definitely doesn't affect the logic, but there are times where you almost feel like it does.
All right, so we've seen 20 rupees so far and a small key to Ice Palace.
One pendant leading straight into another, but when we already know that the still isn't required. Stalfos giving Vitasia a little bit of trouble.
And nicely done on the bomb jump there. Meanwhile, Scooty is going to go turn in that big bomb. We're going to get a Fat Fairy check right now. And the small key to Hyrule Castle and Fat Fairy. Bit of a dud this time. Meanwhile, Vitasia picks up another GT small key in Ice Palace. Looks like I seem to have missed it, but Scooty has the Eastern Palace big key, so they're going to go finish that up right now.
Yoshi, in fact, just found it sitting over in a swamp.
Oh, there it is. And there's our ether. That puts ScootyPuff in item go mode.
He's got all the tools he needs. Now he just needs the keys.
And a very nice Armos fight from ScootyPuff. Little trickier with the regular arrows and not the silvers.
Cleanly done. And with that, all he's got are 2 dungeons and a pile of keys. Not even a pile, really. Looking for GT big, T-Rock big, and a couple of smalls.
Now we're going to get our
Knox
first
having-
look into Meyer.
Knox doing a little dance now that he found his hammer.
And I think that Knox is setting up for a hammer jump here.
If he can do it, it's 1 extra key off the clock.
Ooh, and we've got our silvers in Misery Mire. That will make this fight with Vitreous much, much cleaner. Scooty picking up the net, and Nox picking up Quake and the small key to Hera. Curious to see what that might have.
Two big keys and 2 to 3 small keys still missing. It's entirely valid that one of them might be right there.
And it'll be our first picked up shield of the game. I believe there was another one in the library.
Yep, and it seemed like everybody saw it, but collectively decided shields are for chumps and just kind of ditched it.
Ooh, and the big key of Turtle Rock is in the Meyer Big Chest. Very interesting placement there.
One leading right into the other.
Meanwhile, we have found our last shield, so our runners may end up with a fire shield after all.
With no big key, Yoshi isn't able to actually go ahead and check the big chest down here in ice, but it seems like he's setting up to go ahead and put Cold Stare. Needs to go find some extra magic first, though.
Yeah, unfortunately, well, we have seen 2 of the medallions, but not the bombos yet.
Yep, no fire to just quickly put away that shell.
And Scooty should be making quick work of Vitreous with those silvers now that he found. Vitreous drops a small key to Skull. As well as a very good fight there from epicYoshi. That butter sword on Cold Stare makes life a whole lot easier.
Making short work of all 3 pieces and getting himself the other pendant.
Scooty now just finding what looks like their first key to Turtle Rock. Oh wait, no, it looks like they have 3 in their menu tracker.
Yep, he's got a good chunk of it.
So with that 3rd small key, Scooty could actually go and finish up Turtle Rock and go into GT if they think the GT big key ends up being there.
He has what he needs to open that door. But can he, like, the big key?
And it looks like that's where he's going to head. It's up to Turtle Rock.
I mean, there's still plenty of boxes in T-Rock itself. There's a good chance it could be right there.
That is true. Scooty will have to skip the vanilla big key chest if he decides to go straight for Trinex and get the crystal, though.
Yep.
All right, and Yoshi finishing up that Eastern Palace. Have to think that they will make the Mire play next. Ooh, and a nice cane dash there to get to these back two chests locked behind the torch room. And a good Argus fight from Knox, picking up that swamp pendant. Meanwhile, we've got epicYoshi tackling Mire.
And Scooty wandering, making his way through T-Rock.
And he ultimately opts to skip the vanilla big key chest. It's good play. I believe Ether is in the big chest of Eastern Palace.
And with Knox having just finished Swamp and picking up the Eastern Big Key while he was over there, he should be able to pick that up now.
And Mimic Cave has our last medallion, finding Bombos back there. Still looking for that GT big key though.
And the number of viable spots are dropping pretty quickly.
All right, and Vitasia is heading back into Ice Palace to grab the last few chests and possibly beat Cold Stare.
As Scooty braves his way through the Misery Mire Dark Maze and heads off towards Laser Bridge.
And there's our first Meyer small key. All right, and Yoshi's picking up their big key to Turtle Rock.
And Knox cleanly deletes Armos from his side of the field and gets everything he needs to start making his way to catch up. For Knox and Scooty, at least, it is very quickly starting to come down to where that big key is.
All right, and Scooty is on to phase 2 of Trinex. See if we can get a quick kill here. And well done. Trinex is down. That is the last crystal. Scooty now has access to GT.
With Ganon's tower open, 22 boxes are sitting there waiting.
All right, chat. Let's take a look and see if the GT big key is actually in GT. Throw those numbers in there. We'll see where it's at. And it's in GT. Scooty finds it in the second chest on the right side. We have go mode.
And he is already running himself straight up that gauntlet. There is no time to waste here.
All right, in the bottom race, Yoshi has wrapped up Misery Mire, while Vitasia is going after Cold Stare. And nicely done with that Butter Sword, taking down Cold Stare pretty quickly.
As well as a potion to help mitigate the lack of half magic and the need for the fire rod.
And Scooty is just tearing their way through the gauntlet right now. On to Lammo 2.
I get the feeling he's probably either worried that Knox is right behind him in GT, or is already ahead of him, and just doesn't want to waste any more time.
Meanwhile, we've got Yoshi entering Turtle Rock with 2 small keys. So they won't be able to clear it out this time. Oof, and that torch room doing Scooty a little dirty there. Top torch is going out right before they can light the last one.
It's never a room that plays nice.
And another small key to Meyer in Ganon's tower, right before Troll Dorm 2. Meanwhile, Knox opting to use Butter Sword strats on Vitreous.
With only 26 arrows, it stands to reason that he might want to try and hold on to a few. No need for the final box for Scooty. He's just absolutely going for it.
And now for the Aghanim 2 fight. Ooh, not a great first pattern there. And there we go. Aga 2 is down. Scooty will be moving on to the Big Pig.
All that's left is the pyramid score.
And Ganon's got one of my favorite one-liners there.
I don't know. I'm always partial to the to starting your day off right with some good food for your incredible insides.
All right, and Scooty already on to phase 3. While Knox is digging around for something.
He only has one T-Rock key.
Looks like he's got 2 on him. I was about to say Scooty getting low on magic, but does have that blue potion. And Ganon is down. Go ahead and put your GGs in the chat for ScootyPuffJr1.
Well played.
And Scooty has finished with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 57 minutes, and 38 seconds. GG to Scooty. Alrighty, so unfortunately for Knox and both Knox and Yoshi, they only entered Turtle Rock with 2 keys. They're gonna have to find that 3rd one somewhere. Meanwhile, Vitasia cleans up on the Argus fight. And it looks like Scooty is with us now for an interview. GG, Scooty.
Well done, Skeleton.
Scooty. There, bud?
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep,
There you
loud and
are.
clear.
There we go. It was a pretty nice time to have my personal best.
Yeah, you did a great job today. What are your initial thoughts on the seed?
I thought it was fairly straightforward. I feel like I didn't have too many choices until it was time to find that last Turtle Rock key and Ganon Tower big key.
Yeah, that GT big key was really in a very convenient place.
Yeah, that was great.
Something of a rocky start though, with the hook shot being locked behind that first Aghanim Tower key.
Yeah, that one took a while for me to get, but I'm sure it's probably the same for all of us out there. Yeah, I fell to blind. I struggled in the first room in Skull Woods. I don't know, maybe that was just nerves, but I had fun.
It just took you a little bit to find your bearings. You did pretty dang good work.
Thanks.
Yeah, between that hook shot and also the hammer and pod, Steve definitely threw some interesting curveballs at all the runners today.
Yeah, but it was nice that we had plenty of hearts and we got all 4 swords fairly quickly. I don't know how many times I thought should I be going into ice? Should I go into ice? I just decided never to do it, and it paid off.
I can't remember ice having too much value, to be honest. So that ultimately was a good play.
Yeah, I think the only thing it could have helped me with was maybe it had a Turtle Rock key and maybe red mail. I think that was all I was really missing.
Yeah, you were short 1 key, and it seems like it's about what people were looking for.
And Vitasia has finished up their Eastern Palace fight with Armos. And it looks like they also have their 4th Turtle Rock key. So they should be all set.
They found everything they need to just run forward now that... But they don't necessarily know that GT key is in GT. They don't know that T-Rock Big is in Mire.
Yeah, I figured since we only had 3 pod keys, it probably wasn't going to be in pod unless there was a bunch of pod keys in Ganon's Tower, and it probably wasn't going to be on the pedestal. So the play was just to go straight to Ganon's Tower, and there it was.
Well, you're right about that pedestal. Pedestal held the single arrow today.
Oh, that's so great.
The lonely arrow shall sleep again forever.
I'm just glad my horrible Landmo 2 and Torch Room and Aga 2 didn't cost me anything.
Yeah, it looks like Yoshi's going to be doing a ped check real quick to see if they need to go get that pod pendant. But unfortunately, they learned that the lonely arrow is sitting there.
The race is going to come down to, can Yoshi find that missing T-Rock key before Vitasia finishes up Mire? Where did he forget?
And Yoshi picking up their blue goo from the hobo. Alright, and it looks like Knox has elected to forfeit from the race. GG's to Knox. Doing a great job.
He put up an excellent fight and certainly proved an interesting early lead by managing to get the hook shot so much earlier, but in the end wasn't able to piece it quite together.
Okay, and there's Berna for epicYoshi, who is looking for that small key to Turtle Rock right now. They find the Hyrule Castle one, though. As Vitasia is looking to finish up Meyer relatively soon.
Vitasia's gonna miss out on those silvers.
I believe Vitasia actually did pick up the silvers earlier. Maybe when Vitasia opens up the menu, we'll see.
Oh yeah, you can see it in his arrow count. You can see it.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot it's on the HUD there.
Epic, on the other hand, dashing through the sewers, trying to find absolutely anything. He's got to find that key.
Yeah, just needs one key. And then, well, they don't know it, but they are in go mode at that point. Meanwhile, Vitasia, it's a pretty clean Vidi fight going on right now. And there it is. Well done.
An excellent fight. Now it's just Turtle Rock.
So it looks like what it's really going to come down to is when epicYoshi finds the small key to Turtle Rock. Because once they do, they can just rip through Turtle Rock without checking anything else and go straight to Trinex.
But on the flip side, Vitasia already has all the keys. He just walks right through.
If I remember correctly, that is the key.
A mad dash through T-Rock, and that's right, the Ganon Tower Big Key was on the right side. What are the
Yeah,
odds that one of them picks left to begin with?
How much of Turtle Rock has Yoshi done so far? Any of it?
I believe he got through Laser Bridge.
Yep, he went through all of it. It was just that last key. That last key leads to Trinex.
And finds another pod, small key for good measure.
Seems like the Ganon Tower big key is still lurking in the back of his mind.
Alright, and Vitasia now entering Turtle Rock with all 4 small keys. I have to imagine that they still might try to full clear here just because they don't know where the big key is.
Not to mention Pod still isn't fully cleared. They might end up worried about that.
Ooh, Yoshi playing with fire, but gets through it all to get back into Turtle Rock. And looks like taking just the intentional death there to refill on some hearts.
OHKO Turtle Rock seems like a pretty unsafe bet. This is a fine plan.
So now we're about to see the difference between the 2 runners and the positions they're in. Vitasia will be looking to hit all of these chests on the way, but epicYoshi can just go straight for Trinex.
And it's looking like that's his plan.
Do you guys remember where Half Magic was? I never came across that.
Oh, I hadn't even noticed that he had picked it up, honestly. Hey, and Vitasia is going to give us a look at this vanilla big key chest, which holds another 20. All right, and epicYoshi starting up on their Trinex fight. He's got one head down.
And pop goes the other.
Sets up for the quick kill. And there we go. Trinex is down, and I have to wonder if Yoshi's going to go straight for GT or maybe think about checking out Pod.
Seems like he's just running for tower.
All right, here we go. Now what could make up a little bit of time for Vitasia is, does epicYoshi go left or right side immediately, or do they just go straight left side?
Scooty brought up when he was talking about his own logic going through here that a thought that had occurred to him was that there would be pod keys perhaps in Ganon's tower. And there's always the thought that if someone goes left side and doesn't immediately run straight into the thing. Nope. Yoshi's heading right.
Yep, he picked it up and sent a nice fire rod shot into that chest.
I think we all know exactly what that said. Even Booze can speak at that point.
And Yoshi taking care of those mimics pretty handily.
The tools for dealing damage have definitely been something available to all runners in this seed. It really is just a question of how quickly they can blitz through.
Alright, and Yoshi about to head into their Landmo 2 fight. See how they handle that.
Tearing through the gauntlet. He knows he's on a clock at this point.
Ooh, and unable to get the powder onto that anti-fairy. See how this one works out. Meanwhile, Vitasia finishing up Turtle Rock here, fighting Trinex.
Cleaning up with relatively little issue this time around.
All right, and down goes Trinax. Vitasia likely will be headed right to GT, hopefully to find that big key early.
They've got about half a gauntlet's worth of ground to cover if they can manage it. Torch Room giving Yoshi some grief as well.
And Vitasia now entering GT. Here we go. They've got their hook out. Looks like they're going straight right side, and we'll pick up that big key and start the climb immediately.
No time to waste.
And Yoshi powdering those fairies. Very good decision there. Oh no! Moldworm 2 fall there. Have to get back up and do it again. And down he goes. Picking up a small key to pod in the final chest.
Thus he begins Aga 2.
And Aga 2 is down for Yoshi, as Vitasia is getting through the Red Horse Head room in the gauntlet right now.
Roughly 1/3 of the gauntlet down. Gonna have to make some incredible movement time.
That BMO's just not really having it right now. And with Vitasia on Lamo 2, we've got epicYoshi fighting Ganon with half magic too and using cape strat. Very safe play, very smart play.
His opponent hasn't dot dunned and he's on Ganon. There's Vitasia not dot dunned and him on Ganon. There's no reason to take a risk. Just keep it safe.
And we get a double and the torch glitch. And that'll do it for Yoshi, finishing off the big pig.
An exceptionally clean fight.
And Epic Yoshi has finished with an official SRL time of 2:27:31. GG's to Epic Yoshi. Well done.
Well fought by both participants. An extremely close ending.
And we get to see the value. Meanwhile, we've got Vitasia almost at Trolldorm 2 here, getting ready for their Aga 1 and or Aga 2 and their Ganon fight. And takes care of Trolldorm 2 very well there.
Having a pod key in the Moldorm 2 chest is hilarious. That was the green pendant. And it just made it so pod was impossible to beat, essentially.
You gotta imagine there's probably at least one more potentially locked up in GT there. But, yeah, we'll never know with this seed at least.
20 boxes left in there, it's probable.
All right, and Vitasia now dropping into the fight with Ganon. Getting some pretty good RNG on these first couple of phases here. Ooh, oh no. Unfortunate Ganon death there. Have to start over from scratch. Fire bats just, they're not very nice.
Bats.
It looks like Batasia's opting to try to... Oh, there's a fairy there. I always forget that that fairy's in the tree. Alrighty, and electing to use Cape Strat this time. Well played. Ooh. Ganon just wants to give Vitasia a hug, it seems like right now. And those fire bats do too. And that's phase 3. Moving on to phase 4. Oh, and unfortunately for Vitasia, out of magic, going to have to re-up on that. That's tough when that happens on Ganon. And we see the rage slashes from Vitasia as they've decided to go pick up some magic, I suppose. And I'm gonna pick up a couple of blue potions as well. Can never have too many of those when it comes to the Ganon fight.
And at this juncture, well, what else are you spending the rupees on?
Alright, heading back in. Well, they say third time's the charm.
And more importantly, this time they're geared up.
Alright, already on to phase 3. Once again, just, I think, ready to finish off this big pig.
And done. With a final time of 2:36.50.
And that's the last shot. GG's to Vitasia. Well done. Well played.
Welcome, welcome, and well done.
It certainly doesn't feel like it.
GG, Vitasia.
You know, that was the first race that I'd actually ever run in a tournament setting, and I have so much more respect for how nervous you end up getting when you're in G Tower and you don't see a dot done yet. Like, my hands are so freaking clammy right now, and then halfway up he did it, so I'm like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I had a terrible Landmo 2 fight, and I fell in Torch Room. It was bad, but I was really nervous.
Yeah, I made some really kind of boneheaded plays at the end. Like, I think I was looking for like Eastern Palace Big Key and Turtle Rock Big Key and Ganon Tower Big Key and the medallion for Meyer, and I was like checking literally every place that it was not, just putting off doing other things. And finally, when I got on that line, I was like, oh well, Scooty's done, so it's got to be close, right?
And it turns out it was waiting for you the whole time.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, oh, I'm an idiot. I know my style is a little bit weird. Like, I do everything I can to not sequence break anything. And that probably bit me in the butt a couple times. I don't know. You guys got to see it better than I did.
I mean, a sequence break and Keysanity can also be a huge risk too, because, you know, if you do something like fake flippers, it takes you further and further away from the flippers potentially.
I don't think I did many sequence breaks. I know I did the fourth chest in Eastern, and I rescued the old man, but I think like 5 chests after that I found the lamp.
Yeah, the only major sequence break we honestly saw was the early hookshot.
Yep, that makes sense. It was super nice getting Lamp relatively early and Buttersword so early. Hammer was trolly as heck for me. Was it that way for anyone else?
Yeah, I had to swim to get over to the right side of Dark World, that's for sure.
Yeah, it just how it played out.
It's just sitting there one screen over from normal.
Yeah, there were a couple times where I'm like my first dive into Ice Palace, I'm like, okay, I'll get as much stuff as I can, and oh yeah, a lot of the stuff is locked behind a hammer. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and go do Swamp Palace, and oh right, the hammer. Like, like I was just not used to not having hammer at that point in time, and I think that cost me quite a bit of time, just those double and triple dips. But otherwise, I felt like I did pretty well. Like, I think that was the fastest Mothula kill I've ever had, ever.
I think I also had the fastest kill on him I've ever had. I hesitated going there because I didn't have half magic and I had green mail, but as soon as I got tempered, I went and killed him, and it was quick.
Yeah. It was just like, oh, okay, well that's nice. I mean, he cooperated, stayed away from everything. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is a sign. And then Cold Stare was pretty quick. Did anyone check PED? Like, I never did a PED check, and I was really nervous about that for a bit.
It was the single arrow.
Oh, double, triple validation. Chat must have been so happy, disappointed if anyone pulled it.
Nobody pulled it.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I guess we did get book early, which means people did a ped check early, and it's like, nope, no need.
It was also kind of hard to pull the pedestal because we only saw 4 pod small keys, so we couldn't finish up that last pendant.
Oh, true. Yeah, other than that pendant and then Sashrala, it felt like almost 100% seed to me. And then the Ganon Tower Big Key is the first chest I open. I'm like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah, I saw the fire rod that epicYoshi did upon seeing that. Just nope. A million words in one ember.
Yeah, now that makes sense. So, no, awesome race for everyone. Shout out epicYoshi. I told you you'd win, man.
I think it might have been a little too close to make that claim.
How close was it? I know he won while I was still in G Tower. Like, was it back and forth the whole time, or what was the deal?
It was pretty back and forth. I think by the end, I believe you had entered Turtle Rock actually before Yoshi had, but he had already gone in it once, so he just kind of ripped through it while you were checking all of those chests and pulled back ahead.
Yeah, while you were in Mire, he was running around trying to find the missing Ganon's Tower key for himself. Or not Ganon's Tower, T-Rock key for himself. And as soon as he had that, basically he ran back in and just kind of walked by you, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I was those last four. I mean, I was like, okay, I know what I need for Go mode, and then it just ended up being like kind of linear. Like, okay, I can do this. Like, I got the key for Eastern Palace. And okay, I'm gonna do Eastern. That gave me Ether, and I knew I had to go to Misery Mire for Ether, and then I got the Turtle Rock big key, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I suppose, I really. I wasted a ton of time there in T-Rock trying to get all the chests because I'm not good with things like the laser bridge. So there's definitely some time I could have saved, but overall, I'm pretty happy with that run.
It was an extremely good race. Congratulations to ScootyPuff and epicYoshi for being victorious, and well raced by both Knox and Vitasia as well.
Yeah, just a great race all around from all of our runners. And speaking of them, make sure to give our runners a follow. They're all doing a fantastic job and definitely deserve it. And make sure, I'd like to take the time to thank our trackers tonight, Tim Lobo and MathGirl718. They did a fantastic job keeping track of the race, and it's definitely not an easy job, but it's very fun to do. And also to Reverb over here for commentating with me tonight.
Thank you as well for joining. This was a lot of fun. And I believe we need to start setting up for the next round. So don't worry, there's still yet more Keysanity tonight. I believe the next one will be Duke Firebird and Fat Homie versus Invictus and Alucard.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts from you, from Scooty or Vitasia?
Nope. 0-5, still the goal. So I'm in. I'm in like Flynn there.
Same.
Yeah, I was hoping for one win, so I'll just see if I can find another one here. Thanks for hosting, guys.
Yeah, thanks. And I always like to say shout out to your commentators. They don't get enough love either. So both you guys, I'm looking forward to the restream and seeing how well everything did.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for watching. Thanks, chat. Thanks to our runners for doing such a great job, putting on a great show, and thanks for Speed Gaming for being able to host this tournament. And I think on that note, we are going to end it here. So, yeah, that's it. Everybody have a good one.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the tournament.